The power of information. It tells us about our strengths, about our challenges, and about our progress. Since 1985, one man has played a central role in the understanding of our businesses and ourselves. For this, we welcome James Michael Curley into the AICC RISI Hall of Fame. Jim Curley's byline has been a part of our industry for over 30 years.
Sometimes people talk about the 5 whys. Jim does something similar. You know, what are you seeing? Why are you seeing that? What does it mean? What do you think it means to the market? He's a prober. He's a questioner. He wants to know beyond the simple answers.
His byline appears, or has appeared really, on, I'm going to say hundreds of articles about companies, successful companies in our business.
Jim's always been a stalwart representative of the independent and their position in the industry.
Jim has embraced independence because he feels that there's a kindred spirit in terms of he understands entrepreneurship, he understands smaller company mentality, he understands the way somebody like myself or other independents would think and would feel about certain topics.
I think Jim proved to be a good steward of the paperboard-based packaging industry in terms of the way he presented it.
He wants to have the right information. He wants to find out what you're telling him, is it meaningful? Does it relate to the story he's trying to tell? Does it relate to the topic that you're discussing?
To think of Jim Curley as the cheerleader in chief for the corrugated industry.
Jim's story begins with his parents' immigration from Ireland in the 1920s and maintaining their strong Irish traditions.
Well, Jim was born into a family that already had 4 boys. He was by far the youngest. I'd say that Jim is the embodiment of community. And at the basis of that is family. Family is the core of everything.
After graduating from Boston College, Jim earned a master's degree from Fairleigh Dickinson University. He went on to teach college-level English, landing at Villanova University.
Jim had spent a short period of time as a professor of English at Villanova University.
A brief flirtation with creative writing was followed by writing and editing for a small group of regional newspapers.
Jim started with NV Business Publishers in 1985 in the summer. It was right after Board Converting News was launched in 1984.
What I learned about the job under Jim was the level of detail and comprehensiveness that he brought to the industry and what we would hear from our readership.
Jim just took so much pride in what he did, and Board Converting News was like a baby to him. I mean, he just loved what he did. He loved the industry. He loved the people. And he just worked and was very proud of what he did for the industry. Jim was always the first one in the office. Jim would arrive at 7 a.m., 6:30 a.m. He'd be the first one in and always the last one out.
Jim also brought a very unique perspective. I don't think there's anyone else that I'm aware of that's written about this industry in a way that Jim has, where he would bring in the works of some of the great masters of literature, or St. Thomas Aquinas, or someone like that in a boxboard-based article.
I think Jim over the years has been very good about bringing problems to light that box makers experience.
Jim has a well-deserved reputation for somebody who has integrity, who reports what he sees, who's willing to be flexible.
I've never heard an opinion from him that doesn't lift up the corrugated box industry, and especially the independent.
How he responded to them professionally, accurately, in a timely fashion, and always got the quote, always got the story.
He set about learning about the box business, Exposure to the industry taught him well. Meanwhile, before AICC's morning meetings would begin,
I'm an early riser. Jim's an early riser. A couple other guys are early risers. Basically, before meetings started, have a table and we solve all the world's problems about what's going on in the world and all those type of things. And it went on for years and years and years.
After 2013, Len Prazak, who worked under Jim for about 4 to 5 years, came on board and took over for Jim.
The time when I took over for Jim or was training under Jim was both a very exciting time, but also a terrifying time. Jim was a exemplary role in being able to build the trust with our readers and our box plans.
but
Len and myself would not let Jim go quietly. Jim is contributing 2 stories a month to Board Converting News in his semi-retirement, as we call it.
on the personal side,
He's been involved in an organization called Amergal, which is basically Irish Americans celebrating their heritage through the Irish arts, remembrances of the importance of various historical events and how Irish people have contributed to American society. All of its money goes towards scholarships for young students and towards money for a food bank.
and he sits on the board of directors for his local library, where he also provides historical lectures. But shy, modest, and self-effacing, his focus is always on his work.
When I first called Jim and told him that he'd been selected to receive the Hall of Fame, his first words were, "Who, me?"
He will be appalled, actually. No, he will be one who does not like to draw a lot of attention to himself.
So I think he's conflicted. I think he's happy about it, but also wonders if he's deserving of it.
So that alone gives him a Hall of Fame status as far as I'm concerned.
So, for his years of service to us, to his family, and his community, we are proud to name James Michael Curley as the newest member of the AICC RISI Hall of Fame.